So this is the last session of the day. Thanks for sticking with us, and I guess I'll get started as these guys shuffle on stage. So obviously a lot of excitement around mobile these days, and one kind of small piece of that puzzle is mobile apps. And of course there are other product development strategies such as SMS and mobile websites, and a lot of things that we're actually going to be going over tomorrow in our mobile monetization session. But, you know, and those are things that generally have a lot more reach than apps. But I think that mobile apps right now are really showing the way in terms of interesting product design and innovation. And, you know, it's interesting. Frost & Sullivan just recently put out some numbers that by 2014 they expect to see about close to 7 billion app downloads per year. And you know, that's kind of across all platforms. Right now, to put that into perspective, Apple has had about 2 billion app downloads to date, and that's been in the last, you know, about a year or so since it's been around. Oh yeah, that's not me. You know, and that comes from a library of about 75,000 apps and quickly growing. And you know, that's not necessarily a good thing. It's becoming harder and harder by the day to get found, you know, in the sea of apps. And you know, that's forcing a lot of developers to kind of look towards other platforms, and we'll get into some of those issues. But the point is, now we have 3 of those, you know, 75,000 or so, as kind of a representative sample of some of the innovation that we're seeing, you know, around mobile local product development. And we're also excited about this session because we're building this as a PowerPoint-free zone. So instead of just talking about apps and showing pictures of them, we have some iPhone simulation software loaded up and ready to go. So it's hopefully a good kind of brainless thing we can enjoy at the end of the day here. So we don't have a lot of time, so I'll let these gentlemen get right into it. So first we're going to have Danny Francis, who's CEO of Cell City. Please welcome Danny.
Okay, thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Matt. So I would love a little bit more color on how the phone conversation went. For the people in the room that are interested in sales, when you called the food and beverage director, what did you talk about? Who'd you call? How'd that conversation go?
Well, the catering director ultimately thought it was a great idea. I think with any operational based offer, they wanted to make sure that it was something they could honor throughout the hotel. So they really had internal discussions and came back and said a 10% offer would provide value, but also something that they were familiar with and all of the servers and the bartenders, et cetera, could honor without additional training. And I think that's a really key point. If you have offers that are available, mobile shouldn't be thought of as any more complex as anything else. Ultimately, merchants are used to accepting offers, whether they're on the phone, over the web, or in person. This is just a different delivery channel and mechanism to get them to customers who frankly want them in this manner because they carry their phone with them nearly 100% of the time.
Great, thanks, Matt. So we're going to take audience questions. We have about 10 minutes or so. First, I want to point out the report that Matt mentioned. If you're playing along with this kind of promotion or game or whatever we're calling it, it's a application development report that we did. That basically walks through a lot of the different kind of pitfalls, and we interviewed a lot of application developers and looked at all the major platforms and some of the things you should be thinking of if, you know, you're getting into mobile app development. And that's going to be available to the first 5 people who come with their phones with this coupon shown at the Kelsey booth in the reception following this session. And you basically have to find me, the first 5 people to find me. Once I'm there, we'll give you a copy of the report. So are there any audience questions at this point? I guess I'll kick things off first if there are no questions now. How are you guys assessing value and ROI? I mean, Matt, I think you just went into some of that. You know, Aaron, I guess I'll ask you because you are, you know, an online brand, not so much just a vendor. How are you kind of assessing ROI in your mobile product? I mean, the fact that you have that there now, is it for brand lift? Is it, you know, so you look cool? Is it actually direct monetization? And if not, where, you know, what are you going for there?
Primarily the brand lift, showing what we can do technologically and also provide a good user experience to reach a very potentially lucrative source of traffic. I'm not sure exactly how you monetize this directly, other than possibly putting ads over this traffic. I think coupons probably are one of the best ways to monetize it if you can find a good modus vivendi between the actual person honoring the coupon and the person giving you the feed. That's always been very difficult for a lot of situations. But I do believe that after you sort of solve the user's problems and you get this traffic highly motivated to read reviews, to write reviews, to search, it's going to be very easy to monetize it because some people will want to get that traffic. But most importantly, these are people who will probably give us user-generated content and make the site better, which lifts everything up. I do believe someone like myself going out to a restaurant tonight will, eventually be taking photographs while I'm there and writing a review, probably a much shorter Twittery type review than say a Yelp very long detailed review, and they'll do it in real time. And I think ultimately when people are looking at their online reputation, they're going to look for how people have reviewed them online, because these are the leaders. The people who would use an app like mine or some other that are out there right now are the people who would write on food blogs, who would talk about new and notable restaurants. This is essentially a group of people that every small merchant would like to reach, because these are the people whose friends tell them to go to a restaurant or to a cafe, or these are the people who know what are the dog-friendly or kid-friendly or romantic locations. And so I think that's what this app will basically provide in terms of immediate lift.
Danny, any thoughts on how you're measuring ROI?
I guess we look at it from a different perspective, because we're much more a solution provider to Yellow Pages operations.
Right.
But one of the common things that we've seen when we've been speaking to operators around the world is that they have this concern about, well, they know they have to be on mobile. How are they going to monetize it? How are they going to take their sales teams and train them on a whole new platform? And I guess that's why we're looking at, so let's try and give them the same kind of tools, but now give them a platform where they can upsell and cross-sell those tools. So they don't have to retrain the sales team, but just add on to that. And then, of course, the mobile platform is going to emerge, whether it's coupons, I guess, which is pretty basic, or more dynamic video ads that are going to come about. It's going to change quite dramatically, and it will change as the youth that use the mobile today become the young professionals.
Sure, generational factors. I believe that as well. I believe we have a question back here.
Yeah, how are you guys dealing with like deal fragmentation? Are you basically, because if you have 10,000 deals across the country, they're spread across all the cities, and it's not really good user experience. Maybe you have 2 or 3 deals in your city. Are you focusing by city, by county, trying to get like the user experience in a certain region really, really good? Or how's your approach going into that, and how are you seeing that affecting the downloads of the app, the user experience of the app?
So an inventory issue, really. The amount of searches happening, and they're fragmented and spread across, every zip code in America.
Me?
Anyone who wants to take it.
Well, I can certainly say we initially launched in South Florida. We wanted to have experience in a local market and understand how this was being embraced by merchants, and they have very much embraced it. I think that there aren't barriers to doing that. Being in the App Store is a great way to distribute your product, and ultimately we wanted to load it up with great content. It is a national app, but again, we wanted to have good content until we ultimately loaded and promoted it nationally, which we're now starting to do. Our orientation is really to work in partnership with key resellers. We're not going to hire sales forces to blow out individual local markets. That's not the competency that we think we have. We're focusing on delivering the best mobile couponing app out there. We want to really ultimately partner with people where that is their competency. So I think part of it is you learn, you continue to optimize and iterate based on the feedback that you're getting. We're constantly making improvements to the app, and the users continue to grow.
Right here, David.
Hi. Is it working? Yeah. You probably guessed from my accent that I'm a stranger in town. A couple of observations, really. The iPhone has been a phenomenon, and the App Store has obviously done a lot to boost, looking at the panel, has done a lot to boost sales of MacBooks for Apple. There is another issue with the applications, which is the App Store that it appears on. My iPhone is obviously registered to UK App Store, and none of your applications appears on there, and I can't download them, I can't change my App Store gentleman sitting to my right is on the Canadian App Store and has the same problem. These are all really useful services for visitors to town, and in this area, it's a holiday destination for lots of visitors. What do you think you can do to open up the use of those applications for visitors to the area who'd probably find this kind of type of information more useful than locals?
Go ahead, Danny. You look like you want to answer that.
I guess one of the first things, I mean, the US is very iPhone focused. Whereas if you go to Europe or Asia Pacific, then it's much more a Nokia-led market, whereas the iPhone's getting a decent market share, but it's nowhere near the same kind of market share that Nokia has.